This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
What am I going to do? We're in last place.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Right? We're waiting for people to go. We're almost at game 40 here. It's, you know what? We can't wait this league. You can't. I mean, if we want this, if our mindset is here to, and we got a veteran group, our mindset here is to get in a playoff race and get ourselves a playoff spot. Then whatever it takes, we have to do it. We're not a young team that's trying to get better in the future here, and we're want our young guys to play, or where we're not in that position. And it's right now. I need whatever I feel is going to give us the best chance to win a hockey game. And I'm sorry if it hurts feelings. It is what it is, and so put a little bit of the responsibility on yourself. Go out there and take pride in your job, and don't put me in a position where you allow this to happen. So it's goes both ways. I offer the ice time, I offer the opportunity, but they also have to give me the work ethic to compete and the structure, the detail that I need.
Now you're probably wondering, well, if you were listening to the pregame show here versus Ottawa back on Saturday, that was Scott Arniel. Well, we've been sitting on that clip, and there's been a lot going on here. But that's a very important clip. And they went on to lose that game in Ottawa. And the mindset of this organization as they go into a 5-game homestand on a 9-game slide. Niederreiter had been previously a healthy scratch. He was back. He's going to be back in the lineup today. I'll give you the lineup options from the optional morning skate today. Jets at Noon, Cam Poitras, Jim Toth. This hour is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road, and washmethod.com. Coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, saucy savings on pasta every day in January from only $11.99. That clip from Scott Arniel, Jim, is going to be about the conversation that's going into today's show. There's a big game for the Jets. Every game now is big. They can't afford to lose any points. And they're playing a team that they've struggled against over the last little bit, the Vegas Golden Knights. The team that they're playing and their opponent, game in and game out, I think even for the rest of the year, it's a part of the story. It's a part of the game day presentation here on 680 CJOB. But it's almost taken on the form of irrelevancy as the rest of this season sort of turns to the Winnipeg Jets and what's going on and if and when they can turn this season around. And Jim, I woke up this morning and I've taken a lot of takes, and I've been re-examining some of the comments from Kevin Cheveldayoff, which we played ad nauseum yesterday. And I've had a lot of time to think. And yesterday, I'll let you, the listener, behind the curtain a little bit here. That conference ended at 11 o'clock. We go on the air here at 12:06. I had to cut up the clips, a half-hour-long conversation. I had to get everything ready. I had to, intros into those clips. How are we going to approach them? All that sort of stuff. It didn't allow me, and I'll even apologize for this. It didn't allow me enough time to really reflect and digest the full parameters of that press conference yesterday. Okay, and I just want to take responsibility for that. But it was just a tight window, all that sort of stuff. I listened to it for a third time this morning, and Jim Toth, I'm absolutely exhausted. I just listened to it again just before we came out on air. I actually feel worse. The more I listen to that press conference and the more I listen to what Kevin Cheveldayoff said or waffled around moved it into this direction, I feel worse now, this hour, about where this team is actually headed and the rest of this season. And I have a hunch that the pit in the stomach of Jets fans is feeling more uneasy after taking everything in this morning, this hour, right now, than yesterday. I don't know, Jim, how do you feel?
So two things. I revisited this last night before bed after I watched the World Junior Gold Medal game. And then I was thinking about it this morning as well and listened to more of it also. There's two things here. I didn't expect Kevin Cheveldayoff to tell us what he's doing right now. I never expect that.
Yeah.
So do I think he's doing something? I think so, or looking at something. And we hear that from the insiders, right? But here's the other thing. So I did a little research today, Cam. The Sabres are looking for scoring. This from the insiders.
Yeah.
What they're doing. There's basically every team is, and the reason I bring up the Sabres is the Sabres are looking for scoring. They got Josh Norris and they traded Dylan Cousins. They're looking for top 6. And then name a team. They're all looking for it. At least 12 of them. That's why there's no movement right now. But that being said, back to Chevdayoff. So I'm like you. Like, don't apologize, Cam. We get this stuff. We live in this world that's instantaneous. And I get it on my post-game scribes all the time. I appreciate all you fans weighing in and sending me stuff, even the horrific stuff. But it's always right after a loss, and it's always blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to listen to the post-game comments. I'm going to dissect something. And the next morning, I'm like, okay, let's revisit this, right? But I get it. We live in a world that's just like, they lost again. They suck. You suck for saying they're a good roster, blah, blah, blah. And then I slowly get back to people and go, hey, send me an email. We'll discuss the roster if you want. And I got a lot more emails last night. I couldn't keep up with them, and I appreciate them all. But I'm going to say this. I am disappointed in Kevin Cheveldayoff. Not in the job he's done. I still think that, but here's what he needs. There are pockets of time when Chevdayoff has let us behind the curtain. The one I remember, the first one of his tenure here, is when Tanner Glass and Mason, the goaltender, walked in free agency. And name me a time when you've heard this from Kevin Cheveldayoff. They were offered more money here. So Sean Monahan's left, Paul Stastny's left, Nick Ehlers left, blah, blah, blah. When was the last time you heard it? And to me, I stood back when that happened and I said, wow, he let us behind the curtain there. I never thought he would say, any offer, any terms, anything. Because he was upset. I think that's why he would say something like that. But back to yesterday. If there ever was a time for him to just go, this is disappointing. This was not our plan. He talked a little bit about the summer, and he said we were hoping some prospects were ready, then they weren't. Mm-hmm. And so we signed these guys, and it's okay to say, I get it. Tanner Pearson, Cole Koepke, Jonathan Tavares are on this roster. He's not going to say they've been Gus Nyquist. Jonathan Taves are a disaster. He's not going to say that. So don't say it. Say this is extremely disappointing. This was not our plan. We thought there may be some regression in the scoring department with some of their departures, but we brought in some veteran players that we thought could help play our great defensive system that has let us down. And now we're in this situation. It's not the plan. It's not optimal. We're looking at it right now. I'll take your questions. And I think that was lost yesterday. Fans they want to hear what you're doing and what your plans are, but they also understand they're not going to get it. What fans want is some acknowledgement that you get it. And I didn't think they got that yesterday.
No, I don't think so, Jim. And I think you have Kelly Moore coming out and asking the obvious question.
Has this been an unmitigated disaster?
And what came after that?
How could it be worse, Cam?
They've had the biggest regression year over year in the history of the NHL halfway through the season.
Ask a player right now, has this been a disaster?
So
probably.
Kelly Moore comes out and says, is this an unmitigated disaster? What followed was 2.5 minutes of, accountability, and it's tough to win in this league, and blah, blah, blah. We're going in we have to deal with, adversity is important. And, I get the justification and the reasoning, right? But he needs to be able to say it a heck of a lot clearer, because the word salad criticism, it's not even more than fair. It's actually a problem in that situation yesterday.
Well, my point to the thing about Mason and stuff, there's been 2 other times I can clearly remember where he let us behind the curtain a little bit and approach something.
Yeah.
I think he needed to directly approach this more so, which ironically, Cam, in my estimation, isn't telling us anything again. But it's what you say. Yeah, this hasn't gone well at all. This has not been the plan.
Why can't he say the obvious?
I wasn't thinking there'd be this much regression. I thought there might be some or none at all. And then get into what we all know. They were 4th in scoring last year and they're 22nd. I didn't think this lineup would fall off that much.
And I know that this was not his intention, but it's almost like you're talking to us like we're stupid. Like
it's not his intention.
No,
he
I know
understands
that.
The fans.
I know that. I know that he gets that. But when you waffle around and throw together these for 3-minute long answers to very simple questions without stating the obvious, right? Without stating the obvious. And there's been times when that's been justified. A few seasons back when they'd missed the playoffs, Pierre-Luc Dubois, all that stuff. He didn't say anything because he could not say anything. He's got to re-sign Mark Scheifele. He's got to re-sign Connor Hellebuck.
That's a prime example of why they did sign him, is because he didn't say anything.
Correct. That was not yesterday.
He let it play out.
That was not yesterday.
No, that
was not yesterday.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. For everybody who thinks I'm a Cheveldayoff defender, he's made his mistakes, but his overall GMing has been good. And there's not anybody on the planet that's going to tell me that you looked at this roster in the summer and said, you better trade Niederreiter. He's not going to score this year. You better get rid of Iafallo. You better get rid of Nemestikov. You better get rid of Perfetti. Mm-hmm. You better gut that middle six because they're not going to perform this year. Nobody on the planet said that. Now, let me finish. However, it hasn't worked. Everybody on the planet knows it hasn't. So just say, this has been extremely disappointing. The first 40 games has been an extreme disappointment. We went from 4th in scoring to 22nd. I thought there might be some regression, but not that much. We went from our defense. He did say this. Our defensive system he didn't say escape, but has eluded us. Our solid defensive play, and I think that's the roster he put together. We lost Ehlers. We lost Appleton. Our Moose players aren't ready, so we're going to bring in these 3 veterans and hope that with the experienced core we have here, that our defensive system, we're not going to finish first, but hopefully our defensive system will carry us enough that we're a top 10 team still. 9, 10, 12? Say that. Because then you're just acknowledging the fact that, hey,
you're just stating what everybody knows already as obvious.
We see this. It's not
obvious.
And I don't think he tried to spin it as this has been great.
No, he didn't.
But
no, absolutely not.
There's certain times where, and I'm one of this, like there's your old adage in the NFL, the minute a coach starts listening to fans, you're going to be one. Like, you're in charge for a reason. You do what you think is best. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you're probably going to get fired. That's pro sports. I don't think you should be listening to the fans and bringing up Moose players just to bring them up and what's the harm in the experience. Well, he knows. He knows who's performing and who isn't. He knows the development of where they're at. He acknowledged yesterday some of them haven't developed as much as we'd hoped to, but others have, and this is where we're at. It would go miles, in my opinion. Thinking about it last night and getting up today and seeing everybody weighing in here. And I'm not saying everybody. Like, I get 6 or 7 a day, and 4 of them are against me, and I'm not talking about that. But when I put out he was going to speak, I got 40 responses to a tweet. I usually get 8 to 10 comments. I got 40. So right away, I'm like, this is big. And again, he doesn't have to say anything, but you have to acknowledge that this hasn't gone well and give the fans, because what's the reaction now? Everybody's mad at him. They're mad at the season. They're mad at him for this roster. Mm-hmm. And
he did himself no favors.
He did the best thing he thought at the time. And all you have to do is, this hasn't worked. Obviously, we're in last place. And any sort of acknowledgement like that, I think, not all the fan base, but for a lot of the fan base would go, thank you. Now, I would like to know what you're going to do about it. You're not going to tell us that, but at least you acknowledge the fact that there's work to be done here. Again, it is what it is. It's not something I couldn't sleep at last night, like some fans and stuff like that.
It was going around in my head.
I have no doubt in my mind he's looking at everything. I have no doubt that he's already looked at some trades. He's already trying to do something, blah, blah, blah. Whether it works or it doesn't, or whether he's trying to save this season or he isn't, I don't know any of that. Mm-hmm. But I do know he's not just sitting there going, this will eventually work out. But I will say this, that comment that we pulled from the pregame on Saturday about scratching Niederreiter and Scott O'Neill going, what do you want me to do here? That is why he also needs to publicly say this hasn't worked and we're at least looking at things, and obviously this has been disappointing. Those simple words would go a long way for it, like, try to sell this in the room right now. And I know they're galvanized. I don't find them turning on each other at all or anything like that. I don't. But even Adam Lowry in a postgame, so it's no secret that our secondary scoring has dried up, but we have the guys in the room and blah, blah, blah. But here you are again, game day, facing your franchise worst possible 10th straight loss, and you're rolling it out again. So then address that. Even the words of, I still believe this lineup, that these guys are having career lows collectively. And in my experience covering hockey, Cam, guys have career highs or lows 2 or 3 at a time, and 1 or 2 of them don't, and vice versa. But here you are, right? What does Scott Arniel say? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? We're not a young team rebuilding, looking to get some young guys some ice time and experience. We're trying to win. We are a locked and loaded Stanley Cup contender this year like we were the last 2 years. What do you want me to do? That is, I think, subconsciously, can we do something? Because now I got to rejig the lineup and roll it out again. And I would think that's just as frustrating as the lack of production from the 9 forwards that can't score.
The organization is blindsided by what's happened. They had no plan for it. And to me right now, from what I'm gathering, is there's no clear way out of this other than the players playing their way out. That's the rest of the season here. If they're going to make a trade to make the team better, sure. They might do something like that. We'll have to wait and see.
So I just think it should have been acknowledged as all.
Yeah, well, of course he needed to acknowledge it. And he needs... he did himself no favors, Jim. Absolutely no favors yesterday.
Well, and I don't think he's in a position that he goes, I got to do myself some favors here. I don't think that part of it, but I know he cares.
Well, of course he cares.
I just think it was lost, and I know he cares about the fans. I know that.
Well, of course.
Like they asked him, and he goes, the weight of that goes on my shoulders. He literally said that.
Absolutely.
So then
we got to go, but state the obvious.
What's lost in that, Kevin, is that I think he could have done himself a lot of good work to just go, I hear you because this has been not good.
Because listen, and I know that he doesn't speak the same way he would to Chipman, okay, and that he does in front of the media. There's no doubt about that in my mind. That's a totally different conversation.
It's kind of like when you're in a relationship.
No, hold on, Jim. Wait a second. But if somebody walked into your office and said, Chevy, how are we gonna fix this? And he goes around like that he did yesterday, you're like, well, this guy has no idea what the heck he's doing. And that's the way he presented himself. We'll be right back. This hour brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road and washmethod.com. Coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, saucy savings on pizza every day in January from only $11.99.
The Niagara Falls of Manitoba.
It is. Here's the lineup for today's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Pregame at 5, puck drop at 7. A well-attended optional for the NHL Jets this morning is from Mitchell Clinton, who will be doing the color on that game. Line rushes, Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo, Perfetti, Taves, Velarde, Barron, Lowry, Niederreiter, Pearson, Nemesnikov, Nyquist, Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, Fleury, and Shen, and Stanley, of course, is going to serve that 1-game suspension for that roughing on Brady Tkachuk. So he will not be playing tonight, which I'm sure you'd like to have him in the
talked about that, eh?
We
had some other stuff.
We had other stuff. Well, I just think he was going to get suspended.
Yeah, I think it's a sucker punch.
It was a suspendable offense, and I think it was 1 game. I think it's fine. Move on, but it was definitely suspendable.
Yeah, you can't do that. But also, I don't know. Logan hasn't talked about it yet. Maybe when he comes back in the lineup for Thursday's game, he will be able to address the media. I just assumed, like when Brady Tkachuk is in and around you, you just always assume he's going to go.
Yeah.
Now, I would think you'd know that he couldn't because of the thumb injury that he's coming back off of. But anyway, I think it's a 1-game suspension. I'm not upset about it. I think you can't do that. You deserve it.
So let's get to some comments from our conversation. This one comes from Eric. He says, hey, guys, if there was a year for the Jets to reload with a top 5 draft pick, this would be the year to restock the shelves. Helly was injured. The Olympics can fill a void of a lost playoff year to sell to the fans. It's a disappointment, but try to go to the playoffs now after being 11 points back is a mistake. Yeah, and that is correct. I went and double-checked that. Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets, as of this morning, they have 2 games in hand on Anaheim, but they are 11 points out of a playoff spot.
They are now 11 points out, and I think the most shocking thing to all of this to me, Cam, is they are 3 points back of Vancouver, the game in hand. However, the Chicago Blackhawks have 7 more points than the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean about, say they're at where Chicago is 7th, and they're 4 or 5 points back of the playoffs. That's what I just mean yesterday. This has not worked. We thought there would be a little bit of regression, and with our system, we could make it go and blah, blah. I'm not telling him what to say. I just feel like you said, and you have to find it. You have to dig into it. But I just think a little bit more acknowledgement of this has been I can't think of a worst case scenario. I can't.
Then what's happened, of course.
Yes. So I just thought, looking back on it, and I appreciate what he was saying about the development of players, and I appreciate what he was saying about, they've dropped in scoring. And that's the one thing I keep saying. Like, I got a tweet here that said somebody put out in June that he was questioning, because I want to get into this.
Yeah.
And he said in June, gave me his tweet from June 20th. That said, do the Jets really plan on going Scheifele, Nemestikov, Lowry, Taves down the middle? That's not good enough, in my opinion. This is from a Jordan. And I replied back, Scheifele's having a career year right now. Lowry's Lowry, although he's going to miss 25 games. Nemestikov was a second-line center for the predominance of a first-place regular season. Mm-hmm. And Taves was always the wild card. I think Taves has proven and shown that he's a fourth-line center that can win faceoffs. That's where we're at with him. Massive mistake thinking he could do second line center. I get that now, but coming into it, we're all debating that. But the point of this is to Jordan and everybody else, there's not a lot of people in June that were like, this is going to be so terrible. And none of the veteran players are going to score. And there will be essentially no secondary scoring for 40 games. Nobody saw that. And that's what I think, Kevin, it's okay to go, Kevin Cheveldayoff, that is, to go, yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't see this coming. I thought there may be some regression, but this is what the plan was, and it clearly has not worked out at all.
So what was done was there was an assumption made, and we're going to keep beating this point because I think it's exactly what happened. In the summertime, Nick Ehlers was not going to come back. The Winnipeg Jets knew probably by training camp, or at least very early on in the season, that the guys that were playing for the Moose we're not ready for prime time yet. So the backup plan was, okay, if they can't go, we'll keep Koepke, we'll keep Tanner Pearson, we'll sign Nyquist to hopefully get 30, 40 points, and then I'll make up, the 60 or so points that Nikolai Ehlers is going to be able to get. Okay, we're going to settle back in on our defensive structure that's been so good for us the last 2 years. We still have Connor Hellebuck in between the pipes. We still, at that time in June, we still have Nino Niederreiter. We still have Alex Iafallo. We still have Vladislav Nemestikovs, Morgan Barron. We still have him under control. We're going to re-sign him. We're going to re-sign Gabe Velarde. We're going to re-sign Dylan Sandberg. We extended Neil Pionk long-term. We feel really good about our team next year, but there's going to be a level of regression. And we'll sign a couple of vets, older and slower guys, yeah, but we'll sign a couple of vets, augment it with Jonathan Taves. Cole Perfetti's going to come back. He had a 50-point year. Maybe maybe he'll get close to 60, 65. We'll be okay. In the summertime, or at least in September, coming out of training camp, that was not a bad assumption for any general manager in the National Hockey League to make. I think it was actually perhaps the correct assumption. But like I said yesterday, you have to see you got to see everything at play here. And half the team has almost totally fallen off of a cliff. And so what I was hearing from Kevin Cheveldayoff yesterday, after I re-listened to it again today, just before we came on air for the third time, it was just a lot of justifying and explaining to me about how hard his job is and how hard it's been this year. And I know that. I know how hard.
I think most fans, even the fans that don't believe it, know that.
Well, listen.
Because they say, I don't believe it's that hard.
The job of the general manager in Winnipeg is so
the toughest job
measurably
in the NHL.
Tougher than the Vegas Golden Knights and Kelly McCrimmon or Bill Zito right now in Florida. It's not even in the same realm. They're not in the same league. Everybody, if you don't believe that, you're lost in your own head. They're not even in the same league. The difficulty of being the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets compared to some of the other teams in the National Hockey League. It's not even close. It's not even close. I know how hard of a job it is for Kevin Cheveldayoff, and I know how tough it is. The fact that he was able to get this team to a President's Trophy last year is astounding. It's astounding. How many players have the Winnipeg Jets on their no-trade list? And having to navigate that alone is a Herculean effort every single season to get guys to come here and sign. Tanner Pearson, Cole Koepke, Gustav Nyquist, they probably went after other guys. I know they did, and they wouldn't come here. That's just a reality of being the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets. But we bring these guys in stopgap, 1-year deals. We figure it out, and hopefully the guys, the prospects, are going to be able to fill those gaps next year. We muddle the waters. Maybe we drop 5, 6, 7 spots. Maybe we finish third in the Central. Maybe we get a wild card position. Okay, but we're on good footing. The organization has been blindsided by what's happened. They had no plan for it.
So is the outside of the NHL out of Winnipeg.
It's
Ask
shocking.
anybody who covers the NHL, and they all say the same. Like, I hate to keep doing this to him, but Nino Niederreiter has 15 points. Last year he had 37. The year before in 77 games he had 34. He's on pace for 30 or less. Alex Iafallo has 14 points. He had 31 points last year. He had 27 the year before. He's on pace for 28.
Yeah. This texter says, Dom says, Chevy talks a lot, says nothing. Very disappointing. Tell us how you're going to fix it.
Well, he's not going to tell you how he's going to fix it. I took a text from a listener or two, and he goes, I don't care if he acknowledges it.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't care if he doesn't acknowledge it, then he was fine yesterday.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because he's not going to sit down and go, oh, I'm currently working on a Bertuzzi trade. I got to find another pick, but I'm hoping it works out. He's not going to tell you that. No GM's going to tell you that.
And he shouldn't.
He should not tell you that. That's what the insider's job are doing. They're looking for scoring.
We're thinking, like, imagine he came out and said, oh, yeah, we're thinking about putting a bunch of veterans on waivers. Like, yeah, we're seriously considering
He's not going to go, we're going to see how the first 3 games of this homestand goes, and if not, we're going to call up these 3 players from the Moose. Yeah. And if we do win them, then we're not. He's not going to tell you that. No GM is. And all I'm saying is I think it was one of the rare times where a more direct response to the fans to go, we acknowledge this has not been good at all. I mean, is like Kelly gave him 2 ways to say it. Is it an unmitigated disaster, or is it, something that's salvageable? And he's like, well, again, it's so hard to win and blah, 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 blah. It is. I know that everybody knows that in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. Nobody, I'm sorry, I got another texter here. Sean said, I called this in the offseason. Sean from Transcona. Sean, you sat in Transcona at the High Neighbor Festival and said, I think the Jets are going to finish dead last. You're telling me this. Like, even if you don't like the Jets, I have friends in Western Canada who don't like the Jets and everything else. And they're like, but they're probably going to struggle to make the playoffs. Nobody picked them to finish last because of the depth they had. And the goaltender, and the defenseman. Look at the top 4 D-men on this team. So we're going over and over it again. The point of this is I feel your frustration, and a lot of I don't agree with your assessment of Kevin Cheveldayoff being god-awful. I don't think he's god-awful, but he's made some mistakes here that, whether through his own lack of vision or the fact that these guys didn't pan out or the regression you thought would be minor has been massive. It's his job to fix it.
Mike texts the show and says, let's be clear. When Ehlers left the team, we didn't replace him with a high-end top 6. No different than the Leafs losing Marner and not replacing him. Yeah, well.
Very true.
Well, listen.
But he went after Besser right after Ehlers left was the story. They were in on Besser. They tried to trade for him too, I think, last year. And Besser took less.
And so this
to stay in Vancouver. And when I say less, he took 7.75.
So how the Jets have found success in the past is they've been able to develop players, and when people leave, like Nick Ehlers, they've been able to replace that production with players that they have developed. They have not, and the Jets have they have not been able to do that. Not right now in this moment.
Brock Besser is a prime example, and I'm sorry for loyalty and lifestyle and everything else. He went to UND. You'd rather stay in Vancouver? I'm sorry. As a hockey player, I get lifestyle, living, lifelong everything. But who do you think last summer had a brighter future? And I know even Quinn Hughes was there, and now he's gone. And what do you think Brock's thinking of that 7-year deal or whatever he signed, 6 years? And we do this all the time. I don't know. Like, even when Ehlers was here the past 2 or 3 years as a free agent, you wouldn't want to play in this top 6? You wouldn't want to come in here and bump Perfetti down a line? and play on these power plays, but they don't, right? So let's not go down that road anymore. This is about just the simple fact that I cannot imagine a worse scenario, and how hard it is, and the lack of development, and this and that and that and that. I didn't expect him to say, again, I don't want to repeat myself too much, what they're doing. I know that isn't, and we hear he's looking. Like, the insiders don't lie. They're trying to get some scoring.
Well, yeah,
but
of course
every
they are.
team is
of
trying.
course Cheveldayoff is not sitting on his hands saying, "Well, the players got to play their way out of this."
I think some fans tell me, I want to hear if they're going to tank, if they're going to bring up Moose players. I want to hear if they're going to trade. He's not going to tell you that, but I think it's more than fair to go, this has not gone anything like we expected or planned for.
Do the Jets need to does Cheveldayoff just need to do something? Just to provide something different, a change up, something.
I'm not a fan of doing something just to do something. I think that's when you hurt yourself more than you help yourself. But yes.
Yeah.
But yes.
I feel that more than I've ever felt before.
And Kelly Moore and I discussed this too, and I'm not giving away any secrets though, because it was up there, but he's like, like I said, calling up a Moose player and playing him for 4 games and they don't do anything, then what? And then blah, blah, blah. And he goes, but if you get some young exuberance into, and then I thought back last night, Cam, when did they play their best? And their best game, in my opinion, this year, there was one against Seattle at home. They looked like themselves. Their best game, in my opinion, was Nito Niederreiter 1,000th game night. And it was because I believe they weren't thinking about the hole they're in. They love a guy like Nino. They celebrated him. It was cool to see Roger Federer. They came out on the ice and they just played their system to a T. There wasn't overthinking. There wasn't a lot of mistakes made. They were in the right place on the penalty kill, the deadly Washington power play. They're positioned well. The sticks were in the lane, everything like that. And so I wonder if here's David Gustafsson or here's Jared Anderson-Dolan, because I don't think Brad Lambert's ready and I don't think blah, blah, blah. And the worst thing you could do is bring them in with expectation. Then they finish -4 in 2 games, and then what? So, but bring up guys who are playing well and just put them in the lineup and have that exuberance of, here's a guy that's happy to be back. Here's our old friend David, or something. I'm not a proponent for doing something to do something, but in this case, in the rare case, I'm like, do something. Go get Andrew out of the Oilers. $3.6 million. He's here for another year. Andrew Mangiapane, this season or next, is not going to hurt you at $3.6 million. So go make a trade. Now, the problem is what's the trade? And if it's a first-round pick, do not give up a first-round pick for Andrew Mangiapane. But if you can give up a 5th and a 3rd, and the 3rd's next year, just do something to keep Scott O'Neill from going, what do you want me to do?
Well, yeah, I know.
What do you want me to do?
Call the Boston Pizza Jets and Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza, where it's Pasta Tuesday every day this January from only $11.99. Hungry for saucy savings, hungry for BP. The number 1 caller will be awarded a $50 gift card to Boston Pizza on Friday. We'll be right back.
Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Call the Boston Pizza Jets at Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza, where it's Pasta Tuesday every day this January from only $11.99. Hungry for saucy savings, hungry for BP. Well, Jim, there's a hockey game tonight. Pre-game
Vegas
at
Golden
5.
Knights.
Puck drop at 7.
Pre-game with Kelly Moore.
Pre-game with Kelly Moore. Ooh, 9-game losing skid.
Think they get it done tonight?
Well, you know what? I'm looking at the standings again, and I'm doing this to myself.
This is exhausting to you.
Yeah, it is exhausting. So the Jets right now are 11 points out of a playoff spot. The Buffalo Sabres lost their first game. They went and won. Lost a couple days ago. They went and won 10 in a row. They're now 3 points out of a playoff spot. 3. After winning 10 in a row, losing 1, then now you're 3 points down.
But that's how bad they were, right? Until they went on that 10-game
Well, exactly.
streak.
Well, where are the Jets right now? They're in last place in the league, 11 points out of a playoff spot. The Jets,
Utah wins in overtime last night in New York. And I'm just like, there's the extra. Even if the Jets won 10 in a row, that's 20 points. But then Utah just got 2 points. So you basically only gained.
So there's always.
You didn't get anything.
So the odds are not 0. It's not 0%. It's not much higher.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. And I don't even want to say there's a chance because it's so minute.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Way off. You've had two gloves this whole time? Yeah, it's Aspen.
Mitch Marner. A lot of people are listening to the show right now going, it's a apropos comparison. Dumb and Dumber, you two morons. Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner in town. Vegas is always tough, even though they're not world beaters right now, but they're still a playoff team. It's tough, Cam. If they lose tonight, the Jets, it's their franchise record-setting 10th straight loss. And then I would say something has to. And the players know this. Like the players know.
Well, they have to know that there's changes are coming. I mean, these guys are professionals. Like they know that this cannot continue.
Yeah. So we'll see. I know a lot of people go, the season's lost. I'm not watching, listening anymore. I'm not like that. I think there's a ton of storylines here, and I will say this on it. Nyquist is back.
Well, I'll say this: anybody who says that it doesn't come through in the numbers because we've had more engagement on the show the last 2 weeks than we've ever had.
Every season, even when they finished first, there was so many storylines. But I'm fascinated by this. Like, this is a veteran team, the oldest team in the league, and we do that because of Taves and Pearson and all that. But I'm talking about the core, how they get up off the mat. I'm going to be fascinated by it.
Here, I'm going to end with this text. When the fans stop complaining and don't give a bleep, then it's over. Well, they care still. We'll be back tomorrow to break down this game against Vegas.
Thanks for listening.
Jim Toth, get all the Toots o'clock. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Fort. JC up.